What's going on, everybody? Katie here, and welcome back to the 10th official episode of the King Darius Experience. So with 10 episodes in the book and content dropping every day, I'm going to start getting a lot more tactical with this content, get a lot more strategic in regards to its placement, its distribution. For me, it was really important to get into the behavior of a thing, right? Before I started making it more sophisticated and complicating it and making it more diversified. So I'm excited about the pace. This past week was the first week we were able to fully make operations of the company efficient, client work efficient, all that kind of stuff, while also dropping daily content. So that's a big milestone for us with the first month of business in the books officially. Obviously, Sacred Global has been strategically in the works for a year now, but as in regards to running it full time, it's been a full month. So first month in the books, we're going to be actually doing something at the end of each month called the Sacred Report, where we are going to backtrack 30 days in regards to what activities did we categorically do in the business, from marketing, sales, business development, platform presentation, social media, networking, all that kind of stuff, just so we can have a track record, obviously, and show continual growth and, strategically look back on the things that we are doing and learn from them and build on top of them. So that way, every decision that we're making is a episodic, building sort of decision, and not we're starting over from square one every time we do a new business activity. So that being said, let's hop right into today's episode, because I have a lot of value to bring to you guys today, because I've learned a lot about the new wave of social media lately. And when I say that, obviously, I mean a couple platforms, one namely TikTok. However, I want to talk about the entire concept of the new wave of social media, because as we've been talking about in the first 10 episodes, and we will continue to talk about, is how the behavior and the presentation of these platforms, or the nature of these platforms, is heading from a trajectory perspective. So I've actually posted over 400 videos between my two accounts and received over 20 million views. So I did the math a couple days ago. Obviously that grows every day, but it's taught me a lot. So I'm going to start sharing a little bit of that, and I've got 4 points for you here today. Point number 1 is the life cycle attention, which I believe we ended yesterday's episode with. But when I talk about the life cycle attention, it's not just the life cycle of attention, but it's also where that tension is being had. So the life cycle of attention is people watch and observe. Then they have an opinion and a stance, or somewhat of a judgment or an overall opinion and stance on a thing. Then they mimic or behave a certain way or pull from a certain thing, and then they engage or ask or communicate. And that's sort of how that life cycle of attention works as humans. But what's interesting is this is why it is important for us to stay native on these platforms like we've been talking about, because you can effectively fully immerse yourself into a platform and tap into that life cycle of attention, right? You can literally give your creative output into a thing categorically and get attention on that without ever, I've got the full version on, because everybody's doing what they always try to do, which is leverage full version on YouTube, or definitely follow me on Instagram or whatever, as if the validation of those platforms is going to make them feel better about what they're doing inside of their business. No, fully go in on an individual platform. In this case, we're talking about TikTok. So fully go in on TikTok, if that's a platform you're using for your brand, and just tap into the life cycle of attention, right? Because you can effectively run an entire business off of one platform. This is something I actually started talking about back in 2016 when I was running a marketing brand, and Instagram was really starting to pop off and diversify the type of integrated and dynamic media they offered on the platform, both on the organic and the paid side. So what I did is I challenged myself to fully go in on one platform for an entire year and see where we landed, right? And what ended up happening is we had 30,000 plus readers, every month inside of the website, or on the website. We had tens of thousands of people on social media, and we grew that, and that happened within like a 9 to 12 month period, and most of it happened 9 months and before, because I gave my entire focus and attention to a platform. I created my pillar and nucleus pieces of content around it, my atomization, my distribution. I positioned myself correctly. I got the community involved, and then I was able to take that, or tap into that attention, that life cycle of attention with one platform, and run an entire business off of it. And what's what's really cool right now is even with TikTok, especially with product businesses, but service businesses are seeing it too. And then people who sell attention are seeing it as well. But especially product businesses, like people are running entire businesses off of the attention of one platform. Obviously, you're not running the entire operation of your business. I'm talking specifically about the attention and the intake of that attention, the leads, the sales, and what that generates for your business as it pertains to opportunity and business development. And you have literally everything from 8-year-old kids to 60-year-old plus people creating entire businesses around passions that they either knew they had or didn't know they have, but either way, they have attention around them now and people actually care. Painting, woodworking, little knickknacks, arts and crafts, creative stuff. And it's kind of interesting because it really is providing creators a way to get into business, which is what we were talking about when we were saying that there's starting to become blurred lines between the business world and the creator world, and that creators that will empower and awaken and empower them in a way that they will become the most successful version of business people in the world, because we've always, as creators, like sort of hidden behind brands or organizations or different leaders and that kind of stuff, just because usually creative is an asset or a means to the end of something, not necessarily the thing, whereas these platforms are now giving creators the opportunity to make their creations the thing, if that makes sense to you guys. So this is also happening, and this is my third point, which is there are now becoming blurred lines between advertising and creating. So we talked about an episode or two ago in regards to the blurred lines between business world and creating, but specifically, even going a little bit deeper, there are now becoming blurred lines between advertising and creating. And what I mean by that, let's stay in the realm of TikTok, since that's where we started this conversation, is it's essentially becoming advertising and creator, almost like convention, if you will. Like imagine walking into a convention center for advertisers and creators, and then you go to one booth and they're like, hey, this is the booth for Charmin toilet paper, and there's 30 creators around that table doing fun little challenges or trends or whatever. And in order to engage with that booth or have activity with that booth, you walk up to the booth, you do the fun thing, I don't know, throw the toilet paper on on a board and see if you can get it stuck on a pin, or whatever it is. I'm just making something up as if I was at a convention center. And essentially that's what these platforms are turning into, is essentially categorized rosters of advertising talent, if you will. And people don't even know they're doing it. They're subconsciously playing into the advertising infrastructure of the entire platform, which, because the life cycle of that attention, like we talked about before, is so short now, there's more reps, there's more opportunity. So even if you go look at the TikTok ads platform and you look at the case study section, they are really tapping into that without people really knowing, because a lot of creators are not advertisers by trade or by skill, and they're playing into the advertising infrastructure with getting little to no benefit, because the higher the sophistication of these advertising and marketing platforms become with technology and resources and people, and the lower the knowledge and the intellect and understanding of that sophistication by creators, the wider the gap, which means they're able to control those ecosystems with little overhead, and just a little bit of infrastructure, while having endless user-generated content. So even if you look at the case study section of the TikTok ad platform, they talk about their case studies, and one of them is Universal Studios ad campaign, one of them that they ran, where amongst other data numbers and whatnot, they talked about having 19,000 plus user-generated pieces of content off of a trend that they did, right? Which means essentially 19,000 plus TikTokers made videos to the trend that they created. So don't act like any of this stuff is not planned. Like people aren't sitting around a table in a room thinking, how can we create advertising, campaigns centric around trends that we can get creators to create, content around, which shoves in attention and essentially enables them, which is my fourth point, and what I've learned in the new wave of social media, is siphoning attention, right? By becoming a change agent, right? So do the same behavior that they're doing, where you think about these things ahead of time, and then you become a change agent, or you become sort of an effective marketer, if you will, for the lack of better terms, by being able to go into an ecosystem. I talked about this on social media, having empathy and understanding by going into an ecosystem, understanding the behavior and nature of that platform, and then finding where the attention is around specific ideas, innovations, campaigns, trends, and then creating content around that and siphoning that attention back to the things that you care about, right? So it's so disgusting. Every time a new platform comes out, everybody is attention hungry, so they only do what everybody else is doing, right? Because nobody has original thoughts. Excuse me. People do have original thoughts, however, they don't use them when they should, right? So people aren't using original thoughts, original ideas, original creations. They're just saying, what's the next trend? It's most likely going to involve some type of products or whatnot. So you got people buying different things just to do a trend. And, I'm sure Walmart and Target and all these places and their advertisers and, TikTok and whatnot are all happy because it's playing, it's working, the infrastructure is growing, all that kind of stuff. One of the largest active user bases and deep engagement that we've ever seen in a social or technology platform before. But you can do this same thing too, where you can think about, okay, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to want to post this type of content because I love cooking, because I love writing, because I love this, because I love music, because I like making these things. But 1 out of every 10 times, I'm going to tap into a trend and pull attention or siphon attention from that trend or that category back into the things that I love, right? It's not going to work every single time, but that repetitive behavior of you doing a ratio of for every 3 you do 1, for every 5 you do 2, for every 10 you do 4, I'm just making these ratios up, but having some type of peppered in, Salt Bay, if you will, version of, tap into the trends. They used to call it newsjacking as it pertains to, textual content and whatnot, where you see a trending topic on Google or Twitter or something like that. And then you talk about that content or that topic, even if it's not related to your product, services, solutions, and you siphon that attention, then people become aware of you, right? Newsjacking, very similar of siphoning attention off of the behavior of a platform. So these are things that I'm learning so far, and this is part 1 of the new wave of social media, what I've learned after 400 plus videos and 20 million views. So 1, the life cycle attention. 2, you can essentially run an entire new initiative or business or something off of the attention of one platform. 3, the lines between advertising and creation or creating are becoming blurred. So you can use this to your advantage for point 4, which is siphoning attention by becoming a change agent, going into an ecosystem and pulling that attention back onto the things that you love to do, or create. So all of that being said, sorry for messing around with my headphones the entire time. For the people who are watching this on YouTube, a little bit uncomfortable. It's like really hot today for some reason. But yeah, those are the 4 things that I've learned off of the new wave of social media. So what I'm going to do tomorrow is create part 2 of the new wave of social media, because I have a lot more things that I wrote down in regards to what I've been learning as I've been creating inside of a new ecosystem. One of the things that I want to talk about in tomorrow's episode is the translation. How does this translate then to other platforms if the infrastructure there is for creators and advertisers to create an ecosystem that's lucrative for the platform? How can we then leverage that when it's time? How can that then translate when it's time? And I want to talk about some of that stuff tomorrow. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you in episode 11 of the King Darius Experience. Peace. Wi-Fi nigga, meet me backstage. Why cry nigga, just act your age. Lie, and then go and get saved. Brown nigga, king of LA. I'm just stuck in my ways. Reply nigga, don't leave me hanging. Good guy lately, I've been debating. Bye nigga, might as well face it. Too old for all this petty shit. Too woke to get litty lit. 5 years, I had 3 girls. I said, baby, look what your kitty did. Got them new J's, but they